Hi, good morning. January 2019 for Comix Experience Kid Graphic Novel script this morning. You guys all like the book? Louder, come on. We going up and down. So as I said, and we have with us to talk about the book. Hi, Sam. How are you? That didn't work. Sam, can you hear me?
Hi, I'm good at pixely, so if I look very vacant, it's just you're on delay.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for joining us. It's not 10 a.m. where you are. It's much later. So I really appreciate you coming and spending the time with us this morning. Question, as always, and I love this question. The things that you could be doing in your life that is your artistic expression.
I would probably say blame the internet. I fantasy nerd, so I just discovered various fantasy webcomics, Googling dragons or something, and sort of followed them ever since. I didn't really think that I would do comics, but I was a big fan of them through webcomics. And then I've just gradually sort of stumbled into it because I enjoyed them so much. It kind of went from hobby to hobby that was taking up.
Yeah, that's interesting. So did you have any formal training in how to write or draw?
Animation. So I carried on doing those on the side. But probably if you've seen some of my online stuff, it looks very animation inspired. You can probably tell there's a lot of that cartooniness in there. But yeah, comics are like the bug that I couldn't get rid of. So that's what happened.
That like stuck with you, that made it.
There was this webcomic I remember reading. It was called No Rest for the Wicked. It was kind of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, kind of fairy tale mashup. So it was, you were following Sleeping Beauty and Little Red Riding Hood, but it was like a very sort of witty, kind of dark with lots of jokes. But the funny thing was, it was drawn in a manga style, but I had no idea what manga was. So I just thought that this single person had this amazing, unique style of drawing. I was like, wow, how has she come up with this? And then gradually following her, I realized, I asked webcomics first, then manga, then indie comics. It's a really strange progression overall.
That's really interesting. So when
I think it was probably my first year of uni. I did a 4-year course, and I started a blog at that time. So that would have been, oh God, I don't know, a long time ago. Not that long ago. Probably maybe like 6 years. It's sort of simple. I've share it with you guys if you'd like.
Sure.
One of the first ones. And it is, can you see this?
I can see myself.
Oh,
there we go.
How about now?
That's perfect.
Okay. This is posted, and a little silent comic. It's called Calling Up a Friend. You see this? He's like doing a little spell, doing some magic, and then he's doing some airbending, basically Avatar inspired. And he falls down, and then, oh dear, what's he summoned? Some sort of demonic cat, and obviously, and then wait, it's okay. So that's one of the first comics I ever posted online, I think. And it actually it seemed to do really well on Tumblr, which was a big shock. I'm gonna have to get back to you guys now. Sorry, stop. There, if I come back.
Yep.
Just about it, and I just kept posting them from there because, and it was the way. And sort of made friends and just kept posting for them, and then no one stopped me yet, so I carried on.
Training, it's very animated.
Yeah.
Especially on our stuttery on our side. So, I thought at least that was really, yeah. That's really cute. HEX VET's your first full-length book.
What I was doing online, that a big learning curve.
yeah, no, I bet. How did it come about? I guess so. There's two questions there. The first is like, where did the idea come from? And then maybe we could talk a little bit about where it came from. Where did the idea for HEX VET come from? And
never really been able to make it work. And we have a program in the UK. I don't know if you guys get it there. It's a documentary series called The Super Surgery. A guy called Noel Fitzpatrick. He makes kind of like he does sort of cutting edge surgeries for like dogs, giving them like bionic legs and all kinds of cool stuff. So I've been watching a load of that, and just the idea for kind of a vet surgery and a kind of like enigmatic vet figure, which is what Dr. Talon is kind of based on, kind of this sort of, genius, mysterious kind of figure. And then it kind of all grew out of that, really. But the way HEX VET became a published comic was that I was friends or online acquaintances with an artist called Jocelyn Fitton. Let me rummage around. I've got one of her self-published comics here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's called Hemlock, which I love. Beautiful. But she did, and she just recommended for them. So I kind of had sort of and then they got back in touch with me later and said, and HEX VET was the thing that I thought would be a really good fit there. And they just really seemed to sort of take to it and supported it. And yeah, it's ended up this way, which was great.
Maybe the first person that we've spoken to who.
It seems like the really sort of dream way that nobody should get. Shannon Boom, I think she's really good at sort of seeing webcomic artists. She's kind of got a long history of that, and she was the person who just has a lot of belief in webcomics and creating.
You've got a great style, and I think it's charming and fun, and I like preview on webcomics, and it's got to be a giant shift, panel to panel continuity, story on a page. You talk to any of those challenges?
Yeah, it was very different. I think obviously they're very different. And I think it's the classic trap to think of comics. And I kind of just tried my best to really focus on sort of what the artist I like. I learned a lot this book, and hopefully it was a complete
cartoonists, or were you getting feedback other than
quite quickly in the end? And I do to go kind of an in-between. She out to me if anything really just not making sense. I thought I just need to not overthink it as well, because if we just sort of went for it. Yeah.
You have some of your thumbnails in, is that correct?
Yes. I do. Look, while you're there, you can flick to the back, and they're the again along. Okay, so this is the first stage. I'm not sure how far I can zoom in on these, but this would be like the tidier thumbnail stage of working. The first stage of thumbnails is like I would do that while I was scripting, and that would basically be unintelligible to anyone but me. Would have no idea what it was supposed to be. So I then do a sort of tightening up stage where I try to make it much clearer, and then I share that with the editor, but still keep it, quite rough. And then if that looks like it's all working, it's gonna let me. I will then move on to a kind of slightly tidier but still pretty rough sketch phase. I prefer to keep it looser because I think the time it takes to do neat pencils, you could just be inking, and if you feel comfortable in inking, it's better to just go for it. So this one is actually literally just the thumbnail blown up and a bit sort of scrubbed around because I thought I can understand what's happening here. And then I will go to the ink stage where I will just try to sort of make more interesting shapes, sort of give some nice contrast if possible. My style is quite simple, so this page is probably one of the more complicated pages, but still some nice opportunity for kind of spot blacks and things. Black colours, which usually takes me the longest because I am not very confident in my colours, so I tend to play around with them and overthink them, which sort of still looking for contrast wherever you can. As for the cobwebs, a few gradients. This book has where I can add a bit of light and a bit of contrast, and just work until I'm satisfied, really, or I run out of energy. That is that.
And then lettering.
Oh, and I actually lettering. Actually, I did position the one on the left of the art full without. I actually have part of, I don't think I've ever shown this to anyone outside of Boom, but this is quite interesting because it's